organized by a graduate of Berea College, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. One of his famous quotes, "Those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teaching of biography and history." These are the words of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a distinguished Black author, editor, publisher, and historian. He lived from December 1875 to April 1950. Known as the father of African American history, Dr. Woodson holds an outstanding position in early 20th century American history. He wrote numerous books and articles in order to present a more complete, accurate view. He has a degree from Bachelor of Literature from Berea College during the years 1900 to 1903, which was right before the Day-Law. In 1915, he co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in Washington, D.C. This organization initiated Negro History Week in 1926. The celebration of African American History Month was proclaimed by President Gerald Ford in 1976, and this year marks the 49th anniversary. Schools, churches, and businesses celebrate African American culture and contributions during African American History Month.
All right, thank you. And I think we're going to start off tonight with a KSA Superintendent Search presentation. So Ms. Fields, if you take the microphone.
It's that one, it's on the stand.
This one on the stand?
No,
That's
sorry.
right
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I broke that one earlier.
It's right in front of me, so literally.
Literally, I'm sorry. Good evening. I have just a couple of things to bring back to you from our previous meeting in January. I believe you have these in your board packets. We are now starting the time clock on getting your applications to you. So you should see a posting that includes the application, and you should see the timeline, and I'll go over that with you really quickly. The posting is fairly generic. It includes the link to our applications. I will tell you that I spent 2 days with aspiring superintendents on Thursday and Friday of last week. I had the opportunity to talk about your beautiful district and the fact that you are looking for a new superintendent, and there were 19 aspiring superintendents in the room who were listening to me. So I'm hopeful that will generate some excitement and perhaps some applications through that pool as well. But you'll see we met on the 27th of January. The posting was made today by your HR director. Screening committee selection process was also started, and again, that's by KRS. Tonight, what I'm going to again provide for you is the timeline and the survey, and I'll need that approved tonight as well. I'll also need a person represented from the board, and that is an appointee of the board chair. That's someone from the board who will serve on the screening committee as well. You'll see that the job site, the KSA site job posting, you see the survey link. We'll get that out on no later than the 20th of February, and I'll work with your HR team, your communications team, to make sure that we get that out on your website, your school website, your district website. If you have a radio, TV, newspaper, any particular publication that you want the survey to go to, we'll make sure that that link goes out as well. We'll close the survey on the 6th of March. We'll have a meeting, a regular board meeting on the 17th. I'll go over the results of your community survey with you. You will establish the qualities based on what you read from the survey, and again, you'll get all of that prior to the board meeting, so you'll have a chance to read all of those. Anything that you want to add, I'll take that as well, and then you'll also designate the number of applicants that you want brought back to you. Then we'll close the applications on the 18th of March. All of those will be turned around by the 21st of March, and if you remember when I met with you last month, I said one of the things I do is I'll send you all of the applications. So you'll get all the applications, the screening committee will get all of the applications, and then they will go through that vetting process for you. But again, you have all of them, so if at any point when we get in closed session, you want to add or subtract, you can do that as well. Screening committee will have an orientation and review the applications on the 24th of March proposed. We'll meet back a week later on the 31st to cull through that vetting process, and knowing the number of applicants that you want, we'll be culling that number down to the number that you want to see. Then on the 31st, I'm asking you for a special called meeting. That will be a closed session, time for us to get together. I'll be bringing you the recommendations from the screening committee, and from there, you'll be telling me the folks that you'd like to interview. And again, during that time, you'll receive the recommendations from the screening committee. Again, you do the hiring, not the screening committee, so at any point you can say, I want more or I want less. We can add or delete and then set those interview dates. Then from that point, you will tell me the folks that you want to interview. I'll call them and work with Ms. Knight or work with the board chair to schedule however you want to do that. If you want to do the day, you want to do the night, you want to do every 2 hours, whatever you want to do, I'll schedule that, and then I'll make sure that they are here and ready for the interview. Then you'll contact me with the person that you want to either do a follow-up with, or if you're ready to make that decision, the person that you'd like to enter into contract negotiations. You'll be, of course, talking with your board attorney and talking about contract negotiations. You have time that you can do that. And then I am proposing by the 21st of April, you have a brand new superintendent. That ensures that you have top-level candidates and that we have the best out in front of Berea first and foremost. So that's my proposal for the draft timeline. The other is the survey. I have had a couple of suggestions, so if I can just quickly go over those, make sure that I have your approval before we publish this. Under C, on the Likert scale, it's a 1 to 5, 5 being the highest of agreement, and this again is the easiest way for you to see what your community's voice is on a very important member of your school community and in your community at large. Know that even though you've got a series of questions that you're going to get a 1 being low, a 5 being high, and in the middle, there's also an opportunity for you to see comments. And I was sharing with your board chair prior to the meeting, it's not uncommon to get hundreds of comments. You will get all of those, so you'll be able to see those. I do not publish those because of many times people will use names, and to protect you for liability purposes, I only publish that for you. So all that information, those comments, only will be for your eyes only, just simply because sometimes it'll have people's names in there you don't want published. So under C, the question currently reads, the Berea Independent Superintendent should collaborate with the mayor, county judge, executive, and community committee to strive to make Berea a great place to live. It was suggested that I add Berea Independent Superintendent should be a strong negotiator who can collaborate with the mayor, county judge, and community members. Then I've added a couple of questions to get at some specific indicators that were presented to me. So this will be H. Go very back. It will be I. It is important that the Berea Independent Superintendent be an experienced leader, preferably with experience as a superintendent. J, it is important that the Berea Independent Superintendent be a visionary leader. So if you are in agreement with adding those 3 indicators and qualifiers, and then under H, it is important that the Berea Independent Superintendent exhibits strong leadership, especially with regards to budgeting, organizational structure, and building relationships. So there are just some additional qualifiers to those original questions. So,
just real quick to interject, and those were received from members of the community that things they wanted added to the survey. Those were not from board members. So
board, it's up to you. This is your survey. So you tell me, yes, this is what you want to include, or you want to go with the original plan. That's up to you.
Could you read the one again about what kind of experience?
Yes. The one that addresses experience. It's important that the Berea Independent Superintendent be an experienced leader, preferably experienced as a superintendent.
I wouldn't be in favor of that one. So,
Okay?
So is it the question, or we're asking the community the question, correct?
This is the community survey.
So we are asking the community if they find that to be important.
That's correct. That's correct.
Right, and then the board can use it or not.
That is correct. That is correct. This is just another piece of information for you as elected officials from your community to have input from your community.
So this survey will go out. A large range of people will have a chance to fill out these Likert scale questions.
Correct.
And in addition to the Likert scale questions, there will be an open comment section
Correct.
where people may add anything else that they wish.
That is correct. So anything that's not, that they feel is not addressed specifically, they can address. But again, the comments are only for you. That they will not be published.
And when will the survey be available?
The survey will go out, Thursday. Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, it's ready to roll in our office. I'll make the changes when I get back tomorrow and get that to Dr. Hatchett and to her team. And again, we just want to make sure it gets out to as many publications as it possibly can, because the more you hear from your community, the better you're going to have a feel for what it is your communities want.
Okay, can we also stress to make sure it's translatable to different languages as well?
I can. Is there a specific,
Non-English speaking, so we have Spanish speaking, Spanish, and then other ones such as, I believe there's Portuguese. Is it Portuguese?
Yes, and Arabic.
And Arabic. It's very diverse, so again, just make it translatable so everyone who doesn't speak English probably understands
Sure.
it.
sure, and I know our communications team can work with your team, so we can do that.
And also the timeline for available for the survey, how long will it be available for the community to access it?
It closes on the 6th of March, so it's about 2 weeks.
Okay, so the survey also closes the 6th of March, same time as the applicants.
No, the applications close on the 18th of March, yes.
Thank you.
So any questions at all about the timeline, about the posting, about the survey, about my services? Any questions about anything particular to this search?
I just think that perhaps I want the question about the experience of the superintendent.
Oh, I think the three areas, which were financial responsibilities, that's the one, Jackie?
Now, this was that they preferred
That's
experience.
For,
already
as an
being
experience,
experienced.
prior
As-
experience.
Yeah, as an superintendent. I would not be in favor of that one.
All right,
Yeah, we want experience, but it's a niche for a person to have had superintendent experience.
okay.
I think we're only asking if other people think that's important though, right? We're not saying that that's important, we're asking our community, do you think it's important to
That is
have
correct.
had that experience? It just in terms of the more information, the better, is how I hear that, rather than determining what our next step is.
I feel like we need to vote on that one. All in favor of accepting the question about requiring, or about asking if the person has superintendent experience, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it.
All right, I'll include that, I'll make sure that that's included. Any other questions or specifics about the work?
I just had a question about which form of communication is most effective. I don't quite understand how, is this in following up with information about the superintendent search? Because it feels like there are a lot of layers to that. As a parent, as a community member, and maybe the option is, can they potentially select all of them?
I think they can select all of them.
Okay.
I think they can. I think this just gets at how do you wish to be communicated with
Okay.
as a member of the community?
Just
Because some people may not want to text, they would rather have a one call.
So it's individualized, not.
Correct,
for the-
correct. When I was superintendent, it varied from a telephone call to, you know, a text message to me going out to their place of business, so it just depends. That just gives you an idea of how, this will give you numbers, so many people want one call, so many people want, so you'll get a good feel for, this is the way people are getting communicated, or who want to be communicated with in your community. So, Chair, all I need is an appointee to serve on the screening committee.
So I hope my colleagues had a chance to read my email from this afternoon. It was very late in the day. The question is, the board chair has the ability to appoint someone to sit on the committee. In some cases, the board chair appoints him or herself. I'm not inclined to do that. My personal feeling is that more parent representation is better, and we happen to have two people on the board who are parents and board members. So I would incline towards having one of them step forward. I don't know if they want to arm wrestle for the honor or make that kind of move, but I also welcome other thoughts about that from other folks on the board.
Let me know if you have any questions about service, so I'm happy with that.
Our question about service is, the scheduled meetings, you'll give us, how much ahead of time?
As soon as I get the election results, I will notify the folks. And we typically meet in the afternoon, so on the orientation, when we start looking at the actual applications. So it's usually we start around 2 or 3 and wrap up around 5, 6 at the absolute latest. Then we'll come back again together, because I'll give you assignments on the vetting process. And then we come back again together the following week, or 2 weeks, I don't remember now exactly how many days it is. When we come back together, it's usually again about another 2 hours, and then we leave there signing off on these are the vetted candidates that we wish to push forward to the board, and then you're done.
So just 2 meetings?
Typically 2 meetings.
Okay.
Yes.
I would love to do
Consider yourself appointed.
Thank you for your service.
And thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Nathaniel, I've got you. All right. Any other questions from the board?
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And let's move into the board reports.
All right. Dana's gonna be- All right.
Thank you, got the right one? Also, if you see non-hatchet, that's because my middle name is Yvonne, and so that's what you'll see on my stuff. You see non-monster, that's what I am, so. All right, can we give some shout outs to our school guidance counselors, our school counselors, Mr. Fontanez, Miss Lewis, and of course, we can't give without our elementary counselor as well, because he's my fellow Cardinal, so definitely gotta give him his props. Definitely want to give a shout out for counselors, haven't been a counselor, so their week was actually February 5th through the 9th, and then CTE educators, our art teachers, are all the people who make the difference. Ms. Byers, shout out, anybody that has anything to do with, we consider that under CTE's realm as well. So give you a shout out for that. With our library specialists, we're gonna speak today, definitely, Miss Williams is gonna be recognized for World Read Aloud Day, February 7th. And she has something she'd like to talk to us about, so I wanna give you a shout out as well. Our Land of Promises has an essay contest, and this weekend, at the Bluegrass Army Depot, they will be recognizing the top 3 vote getters. I don't know who's gonna win, I know that we have 5 representatives from Berea Community Middle School that are in the running for that, and we'll find out once we know exactly who won, we will announce that. And we're just glad that our students were one of the people that are being recognized. There were 36 students across the county that participated in this competition, and it's on Black History Month. They had to do research, and we'll see who wins, but I'm betting on our kids. And as far as all district, we had competition. Give a shout out to Rose Ramsey and Olivia Estes for showcasing their musical talent and being recognized for making all district band. As far as Larry Bell, we've had Mr. Bell since the beginning of the school year. There are several members in here that are part of the team with Mr. Bell, and can attest to the difference that we feel like he's making across the district with Unravel, the 12 most powerful words. I mean, I could call on Ms. Fraley, I could ask Ms. Hodson. There's so many different ones that, different people that know about the strategies that we're using with our regular ed as well as our special ed students. The Unravel strategy helps to break down the questions. 12 most powerful words. Everywhere you go, there are posters in the rooms with Unravel and the 12 most powerful words. Those strategies have proven effective. Mr. Jenkins can tell you that. Mr. Bell tells us every time he meets us and gives us examples of different school districts that have utilized those strategies, and their scores have gone through the roof. And it's made a difference in kids, closing gaps and moving them forward. He not only works with people in the United States, he is internationally known and has closed gaps in Kentucky. So, and we can give a shout out to Gear Up, because Gear Up is paying for Mr. Bell to come and be with us. He also covers subs, so it's at no cost to the district. NTI update. Well, as you know, we have utilized all 10 of our NTI days. Right now, the commissioner is asking the legislators to consider 5 additional days, and especially with what's going on in Eastern Kentucky, we hope that he will grant those days, but because 154 districts have utilized NTI already. I mean, it's something that is just automatically, and so now we're all on hold, hoping that the legislators will grant us some additional days. In the meantime, he has asked that especially the districts in Eastern Kentucky reach out individually so he can see what he can do to assist if they need, more. House Bill 241 is something that's being proposed right now to allow districts to add to the daily schedule to reach 1,062 hours by June 4th. Because we know with all the days that people are having to make up with the incoming weather, most likely a lot of districts will be going into June. And so we don't want people to go past June 4th, and that's why that bill has been announced. Whether or not it gets passed, stay tuned. As far as substitute teacher shortages, we recently had a substitute teacher training. 6 people signed up, and only 2 people completed their paperwork. And that's a trend that we see a lot. We might have 25 people show up, and 10 people turn in their Ms. Ridge can tell you that, Nathan. So that's something that impacts us a lot. It's not that we don't have the trainings, it's getting people to follow through with the paperwork. That's the big problem. So if you know anybody that came to any of the trainings, encourage them to complete their paperwork. Now, this is the part, Nathan and I kind of like doing a tag team. He's gonna follow after me and elaborate more. But as far as our financial challenges, as you guys know, we have a $1.3 million deficit. Basically, it's gonna take 2.6 to get us out of this, because you gotta think about next year. However we end the year is where we start the next year. So we're trying to close it for this year. We have come up with what we feel is a plan to do that. We've been brainstorming. We met with Mr. Blankenship, joined us on last Monday. Mr. Owens, we've had different people at the table. We had our school and district admin. This is something that we've been talking about ongoing, of looking at ways that we can actually address this deficit for the end of the year, because the more we cover this year, the less we start off in debt the following year. And that's really important, because at the end of the day, KDE, there's different statutes. If you don't balance your budget, then that's not it's not allowed, it's actually by KRS statutes. You have to have a 2% contingency, and for us, it's, you know, it's like over $200,000, $290,000 in contingency. That's another KRS statute. Well, we know with the 1.3% deficit, $1 million deficit, we don't have that. So we have to look at ways that we can get to that level. Now, we feel like we're at least at a 1.5 million by the different things that we've come up with that you'll hear more about next year, not next year, for next year, next month. So we've kind of got that outline. Within, I was talking with Ms. Byers today and talking with Mr. Blankenship, and they told me that what the teachers would like to know is they'd rather know sooner rather than later what was gonna impact people. And so we're gonna do that, we're gonna honor that. You know, you never know, some people want to wait till it's over, till later in the months, but having that feedback was important, and we're gonna continue to have those conversations every month. She's been invited to be at the table, and as we have the meetings with admin, keeping those lines of communication open so that everybody knows what's going on. And I'll send out a letter as well. But we do have, what we've done is we have like a list of different items, and we've been tallying things up along the way and trying to see where we're at. We're at like 1.5, somewhere in that area right now. But we want to continue to chip away at things. And there's nothing that's not on the table. We're looking at things across the board. That's why we have the freeze on overtime and, you know, and the hiring freeze. We're trying to do things that we know that we can do immediately, and some things are gonna be like long-term things that we can't do this year, but we know we can implement the following year. But it's gonna hit everybody, and we need everybody to pull together in order to keep Berea Community Schools afloat. And that's what they're looking at. They're looking at good faith effort. KDE, I spoke to Matt Ross today, and that's what he wants to see. That's what they want to know. Do you guys have a plan in place? What does it look like to close out the school year? What does it look like for the following year? Are you guys, you know, being serious? And the more we can show that, the better, more confident they feel. But at the end of the day, they can do whatever they want. They can close us down if they felt like it because of violation of statute. So we're just trying, like I said, it's not a time to go against each other. It's a time to pull together and make a difference for our kids and future generations. That's basically it in a nutshell, you know. We've had multiple factors that got us there. So, you know, we have low enrollment, our attendance, raises, we gave raises, we overstaffed, had unexpected costs. But at the end of the day, it's not how we got there, it's moving forward so we don't make the same mistakes, and then we correct those and come back stronger as a result. And that, moving forward, we got refined estimates, like I said, ensure accuracy of revenue projections, because that was an issue before. Just making sure that we knew where we're at, exactly where we are, because we had something on one line where it might be on a different category, you know, as far as spending and expenses. Nathan can explain more about that. Looking at reductions in expenditures, we're looking at all that. And we're continuing to work with KDE. We talk to them every week, and they'll email us sometimes and say, hey, can you guys get on a call in 10 minutes? Or Nathan can attest to that. So, but that's okay, because we send them things and then they give us feedback. And the more we can work together, the better. And we also consult legal counsel. Ms. Combs is on the call. The last call we had, Mr. Moore was on there, and so was Mr. Morgan. You know, it's everybody is working together. So it takes a village, and we're all in here for the kids. At the end of the day, that's what matters. So we'll roll out the plan by the next board meeting. And that's it. Yes. Sorry.
Next up, I believe, is the financial report from Nathan Sweet. And you may want to grab the microphone, or if you want to use this one, it's fine.
Is that okay? I'd rather be close to it if that works. And I apologize, some numbers are gonna be kind of hard to see on here. I did my best to. finance reports. And this is the part that's gonna be hard to see. I tried to get some better visual things later on in the presentation, but it is required to go over the treasurer's report, and I couldn't find a better way to cram it all on here. So, bank account balance started the month $1,421,631, ended at $1,051,335.19. I think an important thing going forward is to realize that the district has one bank account. This is the sum of all of our funds, and so sometimes these numbers, you know, you see $1 million and you feel like everything's great, but what we really need to be more concerned about is, maybe our PowerPoint, but our fund balances. You know, in this, there's our special revenue fund, our building fund. There are restricted monies in this total that we can't just go out and spend, you know, on operation expenses and staffing, and I think that's an important point. Sometimes I just feel like the bank balance makes it seem like everything's a little better than it is. There we go. So food service fund, speaking of that, this is all money that's also included in that total. You know, food service kind of operates as its own business unit. It's typically self-sustaining, as you can see. You know, that's one area. I will give a shout out to our food service director. Our food service is very much, I don't know the word self-sufficient. I think somebody filled me in there. But she does a great job. You know, we started with 201,000, ended with 198. And that's not a downward trend or anything like that. You know, that's pretty normal for the food service fund, and it does operate as its own business unit like it's supposed to. So speaking of the general fund, I think an important thing here, our Fund 1 balance for January was $688,719 and some change. In January, that means our general fund spending outpaced revenue by almost $217,000. And that is where we are trending in a negative direction. And we're gonna keep seeing that happen until we have frankly made some major changes to address this deficit. Here, and it's gonna be hard to see this, so I'll kind of walk you through it. Starting back here is 2018-19. A lot of our issues have kind of started on as we've come out of COVID. So I felt like this was a good starting point. This is our revenue, this darker line, and this is our expenditure for each year. And as you can see, they have gotten further apart this is 2020, 2021. That's the last year that we had more revenue than we did expenses, and that was largely because we weren't here every day, we weren't running buses like we normally were, we didn't have overtime, we weren't filling some of our vacant positions, you know, operations were just different during that time. But as we've come out, you can see expenses have climbed and they've outpaced our revenue, and that's really our problem. This is just another way to look at the same thing. Right here is kind of the break-even point on your revenue minus expenses. So we always want to be operating above that. You know, even if it's not far above it, we really cannot be spending more than we're bringing in a given year. And as you can see, 2020, 2021, we were up close to the $500,000 mark with our revenue outpacing expenses. But as we came back in person, you know, we've trended down to where we were getting close to $2 million last year. And expenses beyond what we brought in. This is a historic look at our year-end balances on the same timeline. You see before COVID, we were ending the year with over $2.5 million. We stayed about there, and we actually had a pretty good boost during that time that everything was shut down and operations were different. And then that starts to kind of fall off there after the 21-22 school year. And, you know, I've put a projected ending point here for this year based on our deficit numbers. And, you know, that puts us at negative $1.3 million, like Dr. Hatchett was mentioning. So that is something we absolutely have to turn around to be sustainable. They will not let us keep operating this way. And so when you talk about spending and where our money goes, this is very oversimplified. But this darker colored portion, that is our staffing and personnel expenses. That came in, and these are last year's numbers. Last year, that came in at about $11.6 million, while our spending on everything else, fuel, keeping the lights on, all of our operating costs, were under $2.7 million. So that's where, I believe in that budget, the number, or the ratio was about 86% staffing. However, if you actually look, and it's like Dr. Hatchett was mentioning, the budget wasn't super indicative of what really happened. True expenses that year, we spent 81% on personnel-related expenses, and then that other 19% covered everything else. Now, on a positive note there, and like Dr. Hatchett said, we are looking across the board, top to bottom, at every expense. And I went back a little further in some of our expenses. Traditionally, kind of before pre-COVID and going back another 10 years, we typically spent somewhere between $1.5 and $1.7 million a year outside of personnel and salaries. And of course, I mean, we all know inflation has hit us hard since then. So if you take a number on inflation around 23%, which I think is pretty accurate, that means adjusted for inflation, that category that we've operated, you know, kind of the bounds we've operated in before adjusted for inflation, would put that number close to $1.9 to $2 million right now. So I say it's positive because I feel like that means we have a significant portion in that non-personnel category where we can make some major cuts. You know, hopefully $600,000 worth. So we're going to get as close to that as we can before we do start looking at personnel. But you know, there are going to be some hard conversations, and there are going to be some staffing changes. When your budget is that much in the staffing category, there's no other way to address it. And then this is a historic look at what our staffing costs have been. And you'll see they've risen. We had a dip there in 2020, 2021 for those same reasons. It's just we weren't hiring, we weren't paying overtime. A lot of our extracurriculars were shut down. But you can see it's steadily increased, and that is, you know, it is raises and it's additional positions. So I think this is my last. Okay. Questions?
Just one question, Nathan. If you could, just for folks, clarify your work with Matt Ross at KDE and what that might look like over the next month.
Yeah, So we have been working closely with KDE. Matt Ross is an associate commissioner, and I've also been working with some of his staff in the budget branch. So what we are working on right now is a comprehensive plan that will drive next year's budget. And kind of our timeline on that is next board meeting to have a budget for next year that kind of lays out what changes we're gonna need to make in order to move forward.
And am I correct that the plan is that as we move towards that, we'll be sharing that with people within the community, school community within the building as we make those decisions?
Yeah.
And so that people will understand where the cuts are coming from as we go forward?
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, because it is personnel, there is personnel in the plan, that's the only reason we're not sharing all these details right now, because we want to make those notifications in the proper order.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. And all the hard work that you've done, I really do. Thanks, sir. And now we're ready for the attendance and enrollment report. Thank you, Kyle.
All right, so just a quick overview of our attendance and enrollment for the last, or for the school year. If you look here, month 1, month 2, month 3, etc. I've been asked, like, why didn't you put January or in August or whatever? Because school months are actually a little different. So month 1 is August 14th through September, and then so on. So they don't really fall into that. So here we are, month 6 just ended on February 12th. Our attendance has gone down from month 5, and I think we all know why. We had a pretty big sickness issue. However, it didn't go down very significantly. We bounced back pretty well. So I think taking our 2 NPI days for that illness really kind of helped keep our numbers up, and that was a big help there. If we look at all this stuff at the top is just elementary, middle, high school, and then I put the preschool attendance here at the bottom, just because I didn't want the elementary school attendance to be reflected with the preschool, because preschool attendance was down so much during that time. So you can see the big changes over the course and how there's ebbs and flows of attendance through each month. We always start off really well, and then after Christmas we do pretty well, and then once it starts getting warm, it starts going down again. So we'll hopefully be able to combat that a little bit. Enrollment rates, again, I put the preschool enrollment there at the bottom. It's 51, it's been pretty steady. We've had a pretty significant increase in enrollment in the elementary school in the last month. Went from 408 to 412. So we're at 931 for the year so far. So it's trending back upwards, and I think it just depends on how we continue to finish out the year, and our instructional piece, and how people start to view Berea as a place to send their kids. We'll get our enrollment back up to where it had been historically, about 1,050 or so. Any questions?
I appreciate you making a distinction about how helpful those 2 NTI days were in terms of this.
Yeah, it's really hard to see it until you see the numbers. And a good example is when I had shared the data with Dr. Hatchett before we took those 2 NPI days, we were down below 86% for a lot of those that week before those 2 days. So when we got back, we were still a little bit down, but not as much as we had been before, and then within 2 or 3 days, we were back up to our usual 92% or so. So it was definitely kept us from continuing to have low enrollment or low attendance, for sure.
Thank you.
And the ideal goal for percentages of attendance, we want to have between 94 and 100%, is that correct?
Well, I don't know that there's ever been a school that's ever had 100% attendance.
Between that number.
But Nathan will tell you that on an ideal, budget, they budget for 93 to 94% student enrollment. And we haven't had that in years. So, or not enrollment, attendance, we haven't had that in years, so that's been a big part of why our revenues have gone down. Because our SEEK money is paid out based on attendance. And every minute that a student misses school, we lose money.
Thank you for that clarification, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, and you also showed me the numbers for 2018, how we were at like 94, 93%, and then as COVID hit, we just dropped. So our numbers are trending up, like you said.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of prevalent throughout Kentucky. When I talk to other DPPs, the last few years, we've all been kind of in the same area. Some people more than others, some way less than others, but we've averaged around the same. So I think it's just something that we're getting used to being back in school, and it took a long time to get past that COVID fear that we're gonna get sick. And we still have some of that, but not as much as we've had in the past.
Okay. Also, is this information also available to those on the website?
Yeah, I believe we have it on our attendance and DPP page. And I have sent out some of this stuff in newsletters, but I'd have to check to see if it's been updated lately, but I don't know that I put month 6 on there, but yeah, and I'm always an email away from being able to provide that to anyone that needs it.
Thank you again for all your hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The elementary school report, Ms. Coyle?
Ready to go tonight? I'm going to do a little bit different than usual. I first want to start, I know that Dr. Hatcher had mentioned Counselor Week Appreciation. Since Craig's not here, I'm going to talk really good about him. He has been so amazing this year, such a support for me. He's willing and able to do just about anything I ask of him to do. Not only is he an advocate for our students, but he reaches out to families often. He helps me in so many different facets. I really tried to be in counselor background myself. I realize the importance of a counselor, especially in elementary school. The responsibilities of a counselor in elementary are pretty heavy. You have to provide counseling whole group to every single student in school. And you have certain standards that you have to teach to every kid. You have to supply tier 2 small group interventions for students who may need social skills, emotional stability, maybe going through some trials in their life. But then you also have to provide tier 3 one-on-one. And this is all just one person doing all this, beyond all of the things that you do inside as a counselor in the school. And Craig has done this as if he's done it forever. And so I'm so thankful for him. We won't share that with him, teachers, I know you won't share that, right? But he's just a wonderful asset to our school, and I just wanted to give a little bit of gratitude for all the things that he does. I know how hard it is to be a counselor. So we've got a concert coming up tomorrow night. We've had to reschedule it because of the weather. And our 1st and 2nd graders are so excited to perform for the families in their music concert, and I'm excited to have them perform. It's going to be a jazz night, so get on your berets and get ready to snap. If you come, we're really excited. It's going to be at 6 o'clock in our gym. And we got a mixed club day coming up soon. We're about to do this rotation of club day, and the kids are just loving the clubs again. And I was going to mention Reading Across America, but Ms. Wilma's asked to speak, so I'm going to let her share that in a minute. So I would like to spotlight our art today. Shout out to Ms. Byers. 10 of our students were, some of their pieces were sent to the Art All-State Competition in Bowling Green. And I'm going to sort of announce the winners. We had 4 kids place. We had a second place drawing from Bo Lockwood, a second place painting from Haley Cottle, a first place fiber and textile from Abby Weekly, and then a first place photography from Martha Wilnes. And this is their pieces that they sent in. But I'd also like to spotlight a very special leader in our school. She's not just a student who did a little bit of art for us, but Maya, I want you to come on up. And she's not shy, so don't worry about her. She'll pretend for just a minute, but she's not going to. She could take this microphone and talk for an hour. Maya is one of our 5th grade students. She's an amazing student who shows so much resiliency in everything that she's faced already in life as a little girl. But Maya actually did that painting over there. She was one of 30 students in the state of Kentucky that were chosen to represent an area of Kentucky on a painting of art and a barrel painting. And that will actually be displayed in March. And talk a little bit about your piece for us. Here, let me get this microphone because I know you want to. You don't have to. You don't have to.
So my piece is Cumberland Falls here in Kentucky. I did the moonbow. I did a lot of contrast with a black background, some trees, and a waterfall going down the middle with a rainbow to bring that contrast out and give some color to it. I also did the moon kind of big as Cumberland Falls. The moonbow is the big face of Cumberland Falls. And I had a lot of fun working on the piece.
As well as all of our amazing kids here at Berea. But I wanted, Ms. Myers has been working really hard to get our pieces in competitions, and they're really shining stars every time they're in a competition. So I'm very proud of them. Do you all have any questions?
And normally I think we would go to middle school at this point, but I don't believe Casey Corner is here tonight. Yep, so we will move on to the high school report.
Good evening. So, Mr. Hackett, you mentioned that the goal for attendance was 94 to 100%. I think if high school had 100% attendance, I would have a heart attack. There's an actual term called senioritis, so that would be excellent. I'm really proud of our high school, middle school, and elementary students for our attendance has really improved this year. So I'm really proud of that. Oh. Okay, so I think Mr. French kind of covered the enrollment, but I'd like to add this on the monthly board here, and we're holding steady at 308 with high school. Also wanted to talk a little bit about some of our staff and professional learning activities for February. We began on the 3rd with our Larry Bell presentation, and we really just refined what we want to do in the high school and how we want to implement that. We are utilizing that through our pullouts. We do have a push-in and pull-out intervention program, and we are steadily using the Unravel and the power words throughout our Tier 1 instruction. And these are our team members. I thought you may want to see that. I don't think that's the code. Okay. All right, also, yes. I think that's the wrong slide. Also, tonight, I want to highlight Ms. Cinda Holland. Under the staff and professional learning activities this month, she actually attended the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics 2025 Spring Conference. This was paid for by Berea College in collaboration with the college, and that's one thing we're really focusing on is trying to be more interactive and collaborate with the college and utilize those resources. I consider Cinda an excellent teacher. She has a growth mindset. She has an impressive knowledge of mathematics. She has always been a team player. She's very positive, and she focuses on kids. She's here tonight, so would you stand, Cinda? conference in Kansas City, Missouri. She flew there all by herself, and she's bringing back some innovative strategies into the classroom. So we're looking forward to getting some of those into the classroom with our students. So, for student and family activities for February, we have lots of. You downloaded it. Yeah, there's some other things that should be. That's okay. I can go to my slide. So for the student family activities, I'm just going to highlight some of these. Our adult lighthouse action teams have been meeting. That is our culture and our academics team and our leadership team. And we have every single person in the building on those teams. And we're finding solutions to problems in the building. They've been meeting once per month and working through that. Also, we have our Green Dot training, and we are actually doing a TI calculator ACT boot camp for our juniors that's coming up, and that will be provided by Gear Up as well. So we are gearing up for ACT. That will be on March the 11th. And then also we have several exams coming up, including ACT and PSAT 10 and also KSA. So we have lots of exams at the high school level in the spring. Also, our SBDM will be this Thursday. We invite you to come, and we think that could be virtual. And we will schedule that as virtual as well. Also, our youth leadership, Madison County, went to Frankfurt and had an excellent time. And then also our JAG did a capital visit as well. I'm going to go to my slides because I think these. Oh, I'm going to go back to our Teacher Flex Professional Day. We had, again, our Leader and Me action teams. We had Amy Cordery with Leader and Me. She came and met with each of the teams on February the 10th, and that was our working day at the district level. Okay, and then, of course, with our athletics, that's not the right slide. We had our basketball senior night on the 14th. Also, Berea Archery was at Madison Central for their state qualifier on the 15th. The 21st is scheduled for our last home game against Denmark. And then the basketball district tournament game, we invite you to come out and be with us. That is going to be on the 25th. We actually will be playing Model Lab, and the girls will be at 6 p.m. and the boys at 7:45. Also, for highlights, okay, I'll go ahead and mention that Miss Vatican's video production class was actually featured this month on WLEX 18 News at sunrise, and that was during National News Literacy Week. Students were interviewed regarding how they navigate news while consuming on many platforms, so this was really nice. We had several students that were interviewed, and so I encourage you to get on LEX 18 and check that out. Our students did an excellent job, so I'm really proud of Miss Vatican and her team, the video production class, for doing that. As you know, we do have our Pirate Brief, which is our newspaper, and then we also have the Pirate Voyage, which is a weekly newscast that our high school students do. So we're really, really proud of our teachers for that. Also, if you look on the final slide, this is a running document, and it's just an important dates document, so it's separated by month, and you can just look at all of the activities and all the things that are going on within our school. Any questions?
Real quick, the live document you talked about, is that also available on the website?
It's not on the website because it does have some internal dates, some things that the high school and the classes are doing, but we can definitely put the link on the website. But you do have access to that, and every time that we add a date to that, it automatically resolves. So you'll have access to that.
Thank you.
Could you repeat again the WLEX 18?
LEX 18? I'm sorry?
Could you repeat again where to find that?
Yes, it's actually just on their website. So if you just Google LEX 18 and you type in National News Literacy Week, and you maybe type in Berea, it'll pop that straight up. So and actually I could type over a link. I could probably put a link on this so you could just have easy access to it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I think we're ready for our Read Across America.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, can you all hear me okay? Okay. I am Jessica Wellness. I'm the elementary librarian here at Berea. and I just wanted to come and share with you all. March is actually National Reading Month, and so I have put together a very fun Read Across America week. Each day has a specific thing that we'd like for the kiddos to dress up but I've also taken it a step further. I have actually asked if our kiddos will come in and look at a certain genre. So like the one where I would like for our students to dress up as teachers, I would like for them to come in and look at our career books. And after I made this, I actually met with one of our very sweet parents, and she works at the Madison County Public Library, and they are doing a reading challenge. And so we are gonna kind of partner together, and if the kiddos do certain reading things that we've asked them to do, they will be able to get a trading card. And so she's gonna bring one of these for every student. And then as they get those genres marked off, then I'm gonna be able to give them a trading card, and I'm sure that our kids will love that. The other thing that I just wanted to highlight is the Scholastic Book Fair. It will be delivered this week of the Read Across America week, and then I'm hoping to have it open on March 10th, and it will be open until March 17th. And I highly encourage you all to come and hopefully buy something. Scholastic does give us a percentage back of our sales that I get to use to buy books for our library. So thank you all for letting me talk.
And then we're going to move on to audience comments. We can take up to 15 minutes for comments. I'd ask that anybody who takes the mic limit yourself to 3 minutes. And if nobody steps up in the first few minutes, we'll go on and move on.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say thanks to the work that has gone into getting the mic set up and into you all using the mics. I really appreciate it. It's made understanding what's happening in the meeting. The visuals have been really nice too, but I really appreciate the use of the mics, and I recognize that it's sort of additional work, and so I just want to say thank you for that. And I really hope, I'll just continue to say that I hope we can find a way to I know our budgetary situation is one where even a little bit is more maybe than we can do, but maybe in the future that we might be able to find the little bit that's needed to make the meetings even more accessible for people who can't physically be here. The other thing I wanted to mention with NTI, in a conversation that I was having with some other parents just a couple days ago, we were talking about sort of the sometimes difficult task of getting the NTI work out of your child. And I don't know that all parents actually realize that it is in fact linked with attendance and funding. And so I just might encourage a gentle nudge, especially if we do end up with 5 additional NTI days. Parents are likely as done in trying to draw that work out of their kid as the kids are in doing it. And so just a reminder that it's important for funding that it counts as attendance in the same way that it does when they come to school. I think might do that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really loud, do I have to use the mic?
Yes. It'll make you even louder.
I just had a question. My question is actually NTI related as well. And this might be more for Dr. Hatchett to answer. So I was at Jesse Clark this weekend for academic team regionals for middle school, and I had a conversation with the principal at Jesse Clark, and they said that they were not charged for some of their NTI days because of the emergency declaration by Governor Beshear, that they got to keep a couple of theirs because they didn't declare them as NTI days during the emergency declaration. So I don't know if we can retroactively ask for some of ours back, is what I was wondering.
The only way I can answer that is to know what the dates are for the emergency declaration.
Okay, I didn't know,
If it's for the I-75 sniper.
No, it was for the snow. It was for the snow that we had in January. I know we used NTI, but Fayette County didn't declare them NTI, so they got to count them as talked to an administrator in Fayette County, that's what they said.
Yeah.
We'll find out, we'll ask. Here, thank you.
It's a kind of an issue for me.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, so I was like,
Not me either.
All right, before we close down, just clarifying, this is the one moment in the board agenda where folks can take a microphone. So, going once, going twice. Gonna ask that we.
Hold on. Nobody else is stand up, I guess. And I didn't want to, but. My name is Gretchen Watson. I am an employee of the district, but I'm also a parent of a junior. And I know we have a large group of senior parents and senior students that I wish would get up and talk about this, but they are not unless anybody would like to come up with me and share their concerns. Okay, so they are here because they are expressing concern about where they are allowed to have prom and where they are not, because there's been lots of rumors, there's been lots of talk about contracts that were sent back that were not even shared with the board or with the parents and the students. And they are here to, I know the junior class, as a junior class parent, has raised the money for prom to be held at Churchill's, and that is one of the biggest concerns I think that these kids are here for.
Yeah, I think along with prom, I know for graduation purposes, even if you're about other schools, like last year, the rain, and we have to go inside for like hours, I would like there to be somewhere off campus that we could have it. I mean, I love this school, I've been here since second grade, but I would like to have graduation somewhere else. Yeah, anybody else have anything else to say? No? Yeah, thank you.
Jay, can I just, sorry, I didn't.
Oh, no, wait, it's me, sorry.
I do not prepare anything, forgive me. And I realize that there are a lot, seemingly there's a lot more important things going on in the world, and it's a heavy time. However, I just kind of want to remind everyone that this is the class, the COVID class, and this is a class that has gone through a lot already, and they lost 2 classmates, and things like prom and graduation are really important way for them to end out their school year. So we've been working, a group of parents, to, my voice always shakes, just give me a second. A group of us have been working hard for probably, I don't know, several months now, trying to support and relieve the district of funding responsibilities. And we've tried really hard to raise money for prom and to supplement graduation, whatever it takes. And the kids really, it's not our idea, it's they're not kids anymore. The young adults are really interested in celebrating this milestone away from the place that they eat lunch every day, pretty much. And we have made some contacts with local event spaces and vendors who are willing to work with us, and the kids have worked really hard to make this happen, and there seems to be a standstill situation where the contracts are not going through. We're being told that none of these events can happen off campus. And historically, as Deborah Morgan will tell us, thank you. Deborah has done some research, Deborah and her daughter Leslie, about events over the last 10 years, prom and graduation, and
my daughter Leslie and I had a meeting, we've had a couple of meetings actually, with Kelly Caldwell and Dr. Hatchett and Eve. And we just, we did a little research of where graduation and prom have been held over the last 10 years. Graduation from 2015 to 2019 was always held at Berea. 2020 was COVID, and that's the year we had the drive-through graduation. 21, it was again held at Berea, but Berea College requested limited guests because we were just gaining strength, I guess you could say, from COVID. 22 and 23, it was held at the Deerson Stadium, our football field, and those 2 classes were blessed with beautiful weather. This year's senior class, Chloe, Leslie, and the other students I've talked with are very concerned about risking trying to plan an outdoor graduation, because last year's class they were dealt with a mudslide, a monsoon. It was a very muddy mess. And at the last minute, parents and teachers and EAF and school staff were scrambling to find a place to have graduation, and they held it at Phelps Stokes. And that was nice. It was a nice facility, but it was very small. We still had people, standing. The band could not all perform. The full choir could perform. So prom, 2015, 2016, that was held at Berea College Alumni Building. 2017, it was held at the Folk Center. 2018, it was held here at the atrium. It's really hard to decorate that atrium to make it look like not the place that they walk into every day. 2019 was at Churchill's. 20 was COVID, so of course no prom. 21, 22, and 23 were all at Churchill's. And last year, from my understanding, they struggled with having outside contracts being approved. So they had a school cafeteria, and that was, they worked hard. I commend Chloe and the junior class prom committee. They worked really, really hard, but it hurt their soul a little bit because it just wasn't special. So the reason Leslie and I did this is just to show that there is a precedent of events being able to be held off campus. We've had years, and we've held, I know the contract is on the agenda, and we'll talk about that at that appropriate time, but if it's liability insurance, even our contract, when we rent our Conkin Gym to the Spoonbread pageant, to have their pageant there, the Spoonbread Festival, there's a clause in the contract that says we won't be held liable if something were to happen. That's common sense. That's in most contracts that we've seen. So I just urge you to look at that closely tonight when it comes up on the agenda, and keep these special kids in here. I know financially this may not seem, like the biggest problem Berea community still has right now, but it is for these students. They didn't create the financial mess, and they feel like they don't want to be held responsible for not being able to have nice things.
And this would not be a financial burden on the district at all. We're very good fundraisers.
Yes, the senior class parents, we raised plenty of money for project graduation. And the junior class has worked extremely hard to raise the money because their goal was to have it at Churchill's. It's just a very nice place in their mind, and it's a special place for them to have prom.
And we are also willing to pay for like supplemental on-site event insurance for the day of the event, and we've also offered that to the district. But
similar to what we have to do during project graduation, because when project graduation is held, we have to get an additional insurance policy to cover. And so we are willing to do that.
thank you
All
for
right.
all that you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for sharing. Appreciate you. That is on the agenda for later. We are actually at time for questions. If you could be really brief, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Now, I'm Jimmy Davis. I am a staff member and also staff base for elementary. We have been able to schedule through KEA a training about teacher elections on March 4th. There's been some question, could we push back on that timeline at all for teacher elections for the superintendent search committee till after that training so that everybody is more aware of what that process looks like? It looks like it still fits within the timeline. Just a question.
Well, that's a question for KASI, I guess.
This is your timeline. And typically, the election's pretty straightforward. It's election of 2 certified employees held by the largest group, which is typically your association that manage that. So again, that's your call. If you want to push it back, you can push it back. If you want to keep the timeline we've got, we'll keep the timeline we've got.
You didn't adopt the timeline, I don't
We have
think.
not yet, that is correct.
Right, so you could vote to pass the intent, and then it can be brought back and solidified to the end of the meeting or next meeting.
What's the difference in the days? How many pushback days are needed?
If we push it back, we just have the opportunity to have that training so that everybody knows what the process is. And there's been a request for that training since January 27th, but we've had trouble getting it. It's finally been scheduled
scheduled, the first time they can do it is March 4th. So it doesn't line up perfect, but I think looking at the timeline, it doesn't seem like the committee would have to meet or do any training before that 21st. So doing it right after the 4th doesn't seem like it would mess anything up. From my limited knowledge, it would just give some educational pieces to some teachers that are requesting it. It just seems like it would be a transparent, easy win.
Chair, there is no timeline for that except the completion, and that I have all of that information a couple of days prior to the 21st, so that I can get that out.
Okay, sounds like we are good with the current timeline. You all have time to do the training, and that representative will simply be named after the 4th.
As long as I get that before the 21st, I'm good.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you all.
Nathaniel, I think that falls in your court to make sure it happens. Thank you, sir. And I believe now it's time to look at the agenda and approve. Do we have a motion?
I motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, first order of business tonight. Approve the meeting minutes. Oh, group, right. So we're just going to read through a quick description of the things, and if anyone has any questions about any of the items, just slow me down. So, one is the meeting minutes for last meeting. Second is the financial report. Third, certified appeals panel appointment of Jennifer Witt. Per board policy, approve Jennifer Witt to serve as the board-appointed member of the Certified Evaluation Appeals Panel. That's been requested by Dr. Hatchett. Also, classified appeals panel appointment of Nathan Sweet, also for the same reasons, and also by Dr. Hatchett. Next item, high school academic team national championship tournament rationale. Approve the out-of-state trip request for the high school academic team students to attend the national championship in Chicago, Illinois. That seems excellent. And senior trip to Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. Approve the trip to Cincinnati on May 10th. Students will travel by Berea Independent school buses to Cincinnati to visit attractions such as the school, bowling, or arcade and riverboat. This has been requested by Roger Trussell, Kathy Caldwell, the high school principal, and recommended by Dr. Hatchett as well. It is a one-day trip? Is that clarification, one-day trip? Yes. Any questions on any particular item?
I move we approve the business and consent items.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And moving on to the business action items, the first one is the KASA contract selection. Board members, that you all were given a few options to look at. There was some question, I believe, about whether or not we wanted to in-person or virtual options, and some strong opinions on which one was the better way to go. Would anybody like to comment at this point?
I prefer in-person myself. I've been interviewing people since early 60s. I just can't read people looking at a TV screen. Body language tells you a whole lot.
I'd rather also interview in person rather than have an AI script for that person.
I like to be in person.
also say that has been the recommendation of KASA. I believe you all are even considering taking the virtual option sort of off the table.
For that very reason that was just brought up. Too easy for AI to get involved.
I will try not to let my own paranoia color my commentary about that. So, any further questions or comments about the KASA contract? I believe we're looking at the gold onsite, which would be a total of $5,500. Do we have a motion to approve?
So,
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the superintendent search timeline. Any further discussion on this part?
I motion to approve.
I second, seems very doable.
That's with the adjustment for teachers, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
That fits within the current timeline. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Superintendent survey. We had some discussion about this at the beginning and already made some adjustments to that survey to add in some questions that were requested by folks in the community. Any further questions from the board?
I motion to approve the survey.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
District calendar, what I believe this is our second reading tonight, asked for by Kyle French. Any further questions arisen about the calendar?
Could you just remind us about the adjustments or adaptations if we get snowed in or another week?
Oh, this calendar is for next year. Now, if we get snowed in for another week, we're looking at having graduation sometime in June, maybe. So let's, cross our fingers and whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, they don't make you finish up Kosher school to graduate in November. It's crazy. As far as the ceremony.
Yeah.
I approve the second reading. I motion to approve.
That was a great power grab, though. I like that. All in favor? Aye. The next item is Chromebook purchase. I'm going to read this one out a little bit more. It's a little more complicated. Recommendation for approval of purchase of 120 new Chromebook devices and 2 Chromebook holding carts for each school as part of the district's ongoing commitment to enhancing student learning and technology. Berea has been awarded funding through the Gear Up program facilitated by the Appalachian Educational Services Agency supplemental award. This funding will allow for the purchase of 120 new Chromebook devices and 2 Chromebook holding carts. The carts are essential in supporting student engagement, digital learning, and providing efficient management and storage for the Chromebooks. For Berea Community Middle School, that's $22,798. For Berea Community High School, that's another $24,000. Total expenditure will not exceed $48,000 as outlined in the attached quote. This has been recommended by Dr. Hatchett, Nathan Sweet, and Daniel Montoya. Questions?
I motion to get the computers.
I second.
One question.
One question.
And this is the time that we are in, and this is about whether or not the funding would be received in a timely manner. Funding has been withheld at different places across the country so far. Do we know that that funding through the App-Ed Service Agency is still available?
I'd have to say that, yes, it's available. Mr. Tim could probably talk more on that, Mr. Molden, so.
Thank you.
You could also make it contingent on the funding.
Yes, the funding is still available. On the timeline portion, I can't really speak to that because that's on the Gear Up side. Now, I will tell you that they have turned the supplemental requests that we have had pretty quickly. And when I say pretty quickly, it's a matter of a month or so. But I can't stand here and say for them, exactly when. But yes, the funds are still there, and they've been very good about getting us the money.
Because of the climate and everything that's going on, I went out and reached out to my contacts at Trafera, a gentleman named Jake Meyer, who I've been working with the last 6 years to purchase all our school Chromebooks. And I kind of told him exactly, if this were to happen, what are our options on the table in terms of if we don't have the money to pay for this available. Well, they do a 30-day net return policy from the minute of arrival. You can send it back. Now with Trifera, there is a restocking fee that we would have to pay, which usually is a percentage of the total value. He says it fluctuates between 15 to 20%. But he says because we've been such a long-term customer and literally bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Chromebooks from them in the last several years, they are willing to work with us to potentially even hold the devices for us until we have that funding available eventually or indefinitely, or put us on a lease program, or even waive it altogether. So, yeah.
Appreciate you reaching out for that context and for the comments.
Well, I would, is this on? Yeah. So the only thing I would add on that is the gear up reimbursement is quarterly. So, if we turned around and ordered these, we are probably talking about May. That'd probably be the timeline on them.
Now, is that timeline on the order received or order sent out?
So Trafera would ship these devices out usually within a week or two. They would be delivered. Upon delivery, an invoice would be created, and we would then pay that invoice. Their turnaround time's pretty quick with their financial department. And then we proceed to the reimbursement phase when we showed that we received the item, have the invoice paid, as well as the, contact Gear Up and let them know, hey, give us our money,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to know that we have some option for returning machines if necessary, not being on.
Thank you for the clarification.
With all that context, is there a motion?
Motion? No. Mr. McKenzie, you want to add anything?
You were gonna add in your motion the contingency.
Yes. A motion to contingency based upon the budget. Money being able to spend it there. So I motion with contingency.
With
Based on the money being received from Bureau.
Based upon the money being received by Bureau.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thanks to Garrett.
And we have a second purchase request. This is for Windows-based devices, 60 Windows-based end-user devices. As part of its commitment to committing advanced technology, Berea Independent Schools has been awarded funding again through the Appalachian Education Services Agency Gear Up program with a supplemental award. This funding will be used to purchase 60 Windows-based end-user devices. Is that a laptop?
That's the official state definition of a laptop. They have an advanced end-user device and a basic end-user device, so.
So is this in addition to the one we're ordering or with?
Yes, this would be Windows devices, not Chromebooks. They run a different operating system. Yeah, so.
As long as we're not getting stuck with the cell phones they put out a few years ago. The Gear Up funding will be used to purchase the following for Berea Community High School: 60 Windows-based end-user devices, total of $59,000. 2 device storage cards, total cost of $3,000. Total expenditure for this purchase will not exceed $63,000. Dr. Hatchett, Nathan Sweet, and Daniel Montoya are the ones who are requesting it. I assume the same qualities and conditions conditions apply to what we just discussed?
So we actually use a different vendor for our Windows devices. We go with CDWG. I spoke with Maggie, our representative today, and they actually have a 30-day free returns policy. So if we return them in 30 days, no, we get all our money back. We don't even get charged. So, yeah. And they're also willing to work with us in the event of that. Like I said, we do need them. And don't want to return them. They can work with us, put us on a payment plan even. They're super nice people, so. Because they want our money.
Thank you for that clarification, Dana. Appreciate it. Motion. Oh, what stipulation? Do we get our? Motion with stipulation that we get the money back for the purchase of the Windows-based computers.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
And thanks to Gira.
And thanks to Gira, absolutely. Long may they be with us. Last but not least, the Churchill's prom contract. And I believe I am the one who put this on the agenda for this evening. So, I will note a few things. First, I will always thank my lawyer for giving me good counsel. It's her job, and lawyers have to be, by almost inclination and professional duty, risk averse. So I always appreciate someone who tries to keep me out of trouble, even when I don't follow through. So, I've listened to many people on this, and I just want to say a few things about it. The language in the contract is, on first reading, a little confusing. Why are they saying that even if it's their fault, they won't be held liable for it? Am I a lawyer? Can I comment on that? Not really. What I did do was go look at some other contracts. And Berea College has very much the same language in there. So if we go to Phelps Stokes, we would be making the same arrangement with them for graduation. It seems, based on that, that it is fairly standard language that's been added in the last few years, perhaps, for people who are risk averse. We have also been told that our insurance coverage for students remains in effect, even for this off-campus event, so we are covered for that liability. I also have heard that other districts have already signed contracts with Churchill's. They know about this language, and they're not going to sign the contract. I won't put words in their mouths. So, I think there is a case to be made that this is a not risk-free proposition, but it's not maybe the riskiest proposition we've ever entertained. I assume all the board members have had a chance to look at the contract. So are there questions at this point about it?
If I could just add one thing other than, we did have some similar language in one for Berea one year from the college, and when I asked them to change it, they did. So, just so that you're aware. That we have never said, or I've never said we couldn't have off-site activities, by the way, and I've never heard Dr. Ratchet say that's never been a thing since I've been here.
So it is, the advice is that that new clause within the contract is problematic. It was in the contract, I believe we signed it really quickly last year.
I never saw it last year.
Yeah, that's true. But we did sign that last year, and we have seen other people use Churchill's and other facilities. Jackie, I thought you were gonna say something?
Could you just read that one sentence?
From that one.
Do we have?
I've got a copy, it's not the one that you can
Yeah.
tell. I think she's talking about that.
Yeah.
Responsibility for no open.
Yep.
We got marked out.
Client's guests or in any way, oh, hold on, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
She's got a cleaner one here.
No, it's actually just getting back to where the sentence actually starts. The client's guest or in any way arising out of the use by the client of the common operational areas or in the common areas of ingress or egress to the operating areas, regardless of whether such claims, demands, or suit are occasioned by the negligence of Churchill in its parent subsidiaries or affiliates. So basically, what they're saying is if something bad happens, it falls back on you.
similar to the as is with sales with cars.
Pretty much.
That's what I was gonna ask about, if that changes the conversation.
It would just be another pot of money should something happen, would be good if we had a policy that would give us a deck sheet to show that they have a certain amount that we want to comfortable with, because I think we've got about $5,000 left for every time somebody brings an action against the board, which can add up. If there was something, my concern is if the building burns down, you're responsible. Even though Churchill's staff member said it's cigarette on fire in the kitchen. I mean, that's the way they train us in law school, what would be the worst thing that would happen. That's how we train. My job is not to make a decision, my job is to explain to the board, if you make a decision, this is what could happen. They make their decision.
So what I'm hearing is if the parents will provide proof of supplemental insurance, adding that as a contingency here, we could then vote on a motion to approve holding the prom at Churchill's.
At our meeting, am I okay to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, at our meeting.
Hold on. I make everybody do it.
So the seniors of parents met yesterday afternoon. 3 of which were at the meeting yesterday with myself, and we did agree at the meeting to pay for a supplemental insurance policy if it's required.
Say what amount, or it's not probably that expensive, but I don't know, the board might require a certain amount of a liability policy. I mean, we can talk about that later, the board says the superintendent.
I know in the past, the project graduation, extra insurance policy that we've had to get usually runs around $200 to $300.
For how much coverage you have?
Wish Sarah was here to help me answer that. Text her. I can't remember right off the top of my
You can
head.
have your motion contingent upon they provide insurance adequate to the board attorney, superintendent, or board chair, or whatever. I mean, I would be more comfortable with that than just saying it can just be nothing,
What if we say commensurate with what's been done for project graduation in the past?
I don't
Equal
know
to.
what that was, but I didn't see it.
But we signed off on those things, so I would feel comfortable with that. So as long as you provide evidence to the board that you have an insurance policy that is equal to the one that was received for project graduation in the past.
And as far as I know, since project graduation has been held here for probably closer to 20 years, if not more, we've had a supplemental insurance policy, so, through Linville Insurance.
Okay. Further discussion?
I was gonna give a little praise for Linville in terms of their paying, our regular insurance, and if they have a ballpark, figure to see, if that would be a good one for us to use, because what we used to do with inflation may not cover the cost of the stand. But yeah, let's look at that.
I believe we have at least a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And we are now to board comments.
I guess I'll start. I thank the staff and administration for middle, elementary, and high school for their diligence and appreciation for concern for the students and teachers and going through this time dealing with the deficit. I appreciate district staff during this time dealing with the deficit, and also I'm glad the prom and graduation contract is on the move for these babies because, again, like I said, they deserve to be able to smile.
All right, let's see, I have shared, I joined the board because I am an interested and concerned parent. And my kids are both in elementary school, and I've already talked about what life will be like when they're in middle school and high school. And it is from that perspective that I also just want to recognize that this is a really hard time for the Berea community. And the next the next steps are gonna be really hard. And part of that is because of who Berea community is, right? We're not a huge school. Teachers and staff are not just numbers, but they are people, and we have stories and value them. And what we also know is we have to hold that intention with figuring out a budget. So I think what I want to say is that I hope that we can hold those two in tension, and I hope that we can move forward with the greatest of care, first for our kids, but also for staff, whether classified, certified, teachers, to make sure we do that in a kind of community of care, recognizing that everybody is invested here and some hard things are gonna have to come down the pike. So I appreciate that and appreciate what a special place this is.
I would second you on that completely. I have 3 grandchildren going to school down here. I have a daughter-in-law that teaches down here, and I'm very vested in this school, and I will do everything possible to keep it going.
I thought those words. Thank you for responding in terms of increasing the visual presentation as our new member asked. And is reminding us all to try to use the mic. That's good. So, thank you.
I just want to enter into the record this evening that Leslie Morgan had a chance to publicly upbraid her uncle at the microphone, and she passed on it. And therefore, that due respect to elders is not unforgotten in American culture. Thanks everybody for being with us tonight. Looking forward to continuing to work with you all, and have a good evening. Hope it doesn't snow too much.